start now. John, is there remaining anyone from your side? Okay. So basically, from our college campus, GDSC, Google Developer Students Club's perspective from that side, Android Study Jam is there. And we are actually here providing the Google's material to guide you all about your Android journey. So let's get started about the Android Study Jam. Okay, let me share my screen now. Okay, so is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So basically, today is our first session about the introduction to the Android Study Jam and some Android basics we will cover according with Kotlin. So first of all, you guys here all you are using an Android phone in these days, right? Can you say what is Android? Anyone? You can. Okay, let me check the chat section. Okay, okay. Yeah. So it's basically a operating system and so yeah, it's basically an operating system and it's a Linux based operating system and also it is open source. That is why it is that much popular in that time and in a cheap price we get such a great operating system right now. So it was actually lately released in 2008 and then it's owned by Google and now it's that much popular and also now the latest version maybe Android 12 is there. So so we have seen that we all are come here to learn about Android, right? But we are going just and 2021 is going to end and 2022 is going to start. Then in 2022, the question comes maybe in your mind that should we learn Android in 2022? Okay, before you think anything about that should I learn or not, I want to show you something. That is, you all guys know that every year here in every year they are released a standard stable version of Android, just like in 2021 also the Android 11 has released and also Android 12 stable version also released. And not only that, overall overall in the worldwide there has 1.7 billion of users, not a small number, such a huge number. 1.7 billions of users is there and also there at the last year accordingly there was approximately 108.5 billions of downloads from Play Store. And you can think about that how much popular is this. And and not only that, the users are also increasing day by day. So with the increasing of users also needs, users needs are also they are increasing. So in the industrial demand is also increasing day by day. And in India we are the mobile first market, we have the mobile first market, because if in this date you can, if you see that everyone has a smartphone and it's mostly Android. So no, so there is no hesitation that it is the best time to learn Android development. Maybe someone there. Okay. So let's start our journey. So what? Sorry. So let's start our journey. So basically, to complete our course, or to start your Android journey, what actually need is that at first you have you should have a computer there. At least you have to install the Android Studio and some basic level of math skills for understanding the Kotlin or any kind of programming language. And you have to learn one language, either Java or Kotlin. But mind it, in this course we are going to use Kotlin, and I also give you a overview that how you can learn Kotlin and also basics and all. So keep updated, and later on, whenever you are going to start making apps, then you will need then you need that you have to use a either a physical device, or either you have to make that you can test the app on an emulator also. So I will show you that all later on, so no issues that. Okay. Okay, so basically what is Android Study Jam? As I previously said, that it is a basically mm, a, a community program is basically, which is provided by Google, and also we are following the all the resources of Google to learn Android development, and also to make our Android journey faster. So here I am this year's facilitator from our college campus, and I am here guiding you to all to start your journey on this Android path. So what you will get from there? First of all, with completion, there is Android Basics in Kotlin course provided by Google. You will understand that all the basic things about Android, and you can make many kind of small apps. Like you will be able to build, like either can make a currency converter kind of app, or you will be also able to make such kind of calculator, and many things you will be able. So I also want to see how you can make your idea, and you can build your idea into reality. So it will be gonna really fun. So sorry for that. Okay, not only that, apart from that, solve a real world problems by making some kind of apps, just like uh, first of all, you are here, you will learn about all the basics of Android. So you will not able that much, you will not be able to make that much of advanced apps, but you will be able the minimum level of apps, but it will be great. And also there is a and also there has an opportunity to certify yourself, and we will provide you a certificate about your performance. And how will you going to give a certificate to you, I will share it later on. Okay, so before that, let's review that how the course is. Okay, Chayan, would you please share it, the link? Okay, so basically this is our course, Android Basics in Kotlin, and here we have six sections, and from each section there has some pathways, kind of that. And whenever you are completing each pathway, you will be able to earn a badge from that. Just like this pathway, Introduction to Kotlin. If you complete these four things, then you will be able to take a quiz, and after that quiz you will get a badge. So what's our aim is that it will be great if you could collect this. There has total 16 badges. If you can see that there has total 16 badges. And if you complete all the code labs accordingly, all the pathways accordingly, and collect all the 16 badges, then we will provide you a pro level of certificate. Okay, so let me show you the certification criteria. Okay, so this is our certification criteria. Sorry. Okay, so this is basically our certification criteria. So our site, so we have decided that if you are able to finish at least unit 1, to collect all the unit 1 badges, that is, if you are able to collect all these 4 badges, we will provide you a bronze level certificate. And later on, if you collect these 4 badges with these 3 badges, it means if you complete unit 1 and unit 2 also, then we will provide you a silver level badge. And if you collect this 4 and 3 7 badges, and including these 2 badges, then we will provide you the gold level certification. And if you able to collect these all 16 badges, then we will provide you a pro level certification. And if you get a pro level certification, then you will get a chance to crack the exam of associate Android developer certification exam. Actually, you will in the certification exam, there may be the total cost may be 149 USD approximately, and you will get the 80% discount on it if you can complete the the 16, if you can complete the six pathways and can collect all the 16 badges, and then only you will get this opportunity to get the 80% discount on the certification exam. And one more thing is that you have to collect all the badges within 10 Jan. After the 10 Jan, we will not we will not count the of whatever badge you have collected. So based on the result, you have collected the badges within 10 Jan. We will we will track your profile, and then we will certify you accordingly. And one more thing now that is left, that I have told you to collect the badges, right? But not told you where to collect. So it's time to make a Google developer profile. Okay, Chayan, please share the link. Okay, so in the chat section, maybe Chayan has shared a link. I am giving you all a 5 minutes of time. Please make the profile. Then we will proceed further. Whenever you have done, please comment yes, because it is the necessary thing. And according to that profile, we will track your profile, that you have collected how much badges or not, and then we can certify you. So your profile should look like that, your profile, and your badges will be shown like that. Okay, if it's already created, then no issue. If you have not created yet, then please create. Are you all creating? Okay, fine, fine, fine. Now I think we should proceed now for our further curriculum. Chayan, please share the link for the get the first batch about the participation of the Android Study Jam. Okay, so Chayan has shared a link here. Guys, whenever you have done, then click on the link. Maybe it is not clickable here. Just copy the link here from here and paste it on your according browser. Then you will be able to gain a certification to gain a participation badge of the Android Study Jam from Google, and it will be your first badge. This batch will not be counted, but this from our side that you are attending the study jam and all. Okay, so let's begin. So the link which has Chayan shared through which you can get the participation badge. Hmm. So after that, now comes to where we are going to what we are going to do today. So today we are covering the basics of Kotlin basically. Then we will discover some resources to continue learning further. And after the at the end of the session, we will take a quiz. And you, I, I really suggest that whenever I am solving all the questions, you also do accordingly. Then you will able to get your first batch from the Kotlin course. And also I am also covering some basic understandings of Android app for today's session, and from next session we will go deep dive into it. Okay, so let's dive into the Kotlin basics in Android basics in Kotlin course. I have already shared it with you all that what you need to do, you should do, how you can get the certificate. I have shared it all with you. So let's go to the next. So you guys, in we every day in our daily basis, we are using different kind of apps. Like so, say me some kind of apps name which you used regularly. Okay, Reddit, cool. WhatsApp. Okay, 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 okay. Have you guys ever think whenever you are opening an app and clicking on a button, what happens next whenever you are clicking on a button? Have you ever think that how it all works? Actually, there has two layers of the app. The two layers I have shared with you. That the two layers are, first of all, where you are interacting with, where you have the button, images, vagera vagera, that is there. Then that is the UI section or the front end part of the app. And whenever you are clicking on the button and some action is performing, that is the backend section of the app. And actually, this backend section is written by the Kotlin or Java, you can say. And this front end section, for this front end section, in this course, we are going to use XML. Also, another popular tool is there, that is Jetpack Compose. Maybe many of you know, or some of you maybe not know about that. So don't think about it. Just we are covering the basic XML here. And also for the backend purpose, we are going to use Kotlin. Now, the fun fact is, then we have to learn these two languages separately. That first of all XML, then we have to learn Kotlin. Then how we can able to build an app with the help of these two languages? Basically, whenever we are mixing Kotlin and XML, then only we will be able to make a native Android apps, right? So how we can do that? Okay, so I am going to that part. So before going to that part, that how we are going to build an app, first look at that. I have shared that native Android apps. Now, do you guys familiar with this native term? Anyone familiar? What is basically this native? Okay, so I'm let me share with you. Okay, so native apps basically, if let's say you are a developer, you are an app developer, and you are making an app. Now, let's say you are making an app for Android, and this app only will be useful only you, and these you can use this app only in the Android platform only. Then let's say you are an iOS developer and you are making an app for iOS. Then this app only will be going to work on iOS platform only. So the code base of the native Android app, you can't use that code to the iOS platform also. So this is the native Android app development, and another one is that cross-platform app development. This is basically you are writing a single piece of code and using the same piece of code for Android apps also and iOS apps also. They are in both type of developments. There has some pros and cons. I am not going into that. Just know that what basically native Android apps is, and in this course we are going to build that native Android apps. Okay. Now, I have shared that we have to learn XML and we have to learn Kotlin also. Okay. So the question comes into our mind, then what is XML? So basically, XML is nothing but it is a markup language, extensible markup language, and maybe some terms are there you can't get it. So leave it that. Now, just simple thing you can remember that XML is basically a tag-based language where we use tag to store some kind of data and to show it to the different screen. We use tags, and how we use it, I am showing you later on. Okay. Now here I have discussed that for the backend section there is three options: Kotlin, Java, C++. But most preferable is Kotlin and Java. But still we are choosing Kotlin, but we are not choosing Java. Then obviously we are choosing Kotlin, and also Google are also motivating us to choose Kotlin, then there should be something greater functionality, something best is there. So why we are choosing Kotlin? Okay, sorry. So the thing is that why we are choosing Kotlin? Okay, as we are choosing Kotlin because Kotlin is first of all an expressive statically typed programming language with type inference for development on Android and server. Now you all are thinking that what is that expressive, what is that statically typed, what is that type inference? Okay, don't worry, I will explain it everything. Now beside that, there has actually it is introduced by JetBrains in 2010, which is free and open source also, and 5.8 billions of developers around the world are using it and give it a positive feedback. And Google made Kotlin as first preference for developing apps, obviously native Android apps, and it has interoperability with Java and provides null safety. Okay, there are also two terms, that what is that then interoperability with Java and what is null safety. I will also explain. So keep patience, and I will go step by step. Okay, someone is there maybe. Okay. Okay. So Now think you have learned Kotlin and you have learned XML. Now you are thinking to make, now it's time to make an app. Now how you can make an app? Okay. So think about the kitchen. You have some different kind of elements and you are cooking, then you are making a delicious food, right? Then kitchen is an environment where you are cooking. Similarly, we also need an environment where we can cook using Kotlin and XML, and as a result, we will get a beautiful app. So this 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 environment is called an IDE, and for app development purpose, there has four options. One is Android Studio, another is IntelliJ IDEA, third one is Eclipse, and fourth one is VS Code. Uh, Most of the professional developers here basically use that Android Studio, and we are also here going to use the Android Studio as it is the official ID for Android app development. So now one question comes to our mind, then what is IDE? I have also explained, but though uh, IDE is basically an integrated development environment where we can develop uh, any kind of where we can develop an apps or another things, we can write some code. It's basically a software based application where we can, and here also exist some tools through which we proceed our development. Okay, Dheeraj, as I think I have explained it. Okay, so this is our Android Studio. For modern Android Studio looks like, the logo is like that. uh, this logo is little bit older. Okay, so Chayan, would you please share the link of the download link of the Android Studio? Okay, so Chayan have shared the downloading of the Android Studio. I am not wanting that you download just right now, but you can take time and you can download it for the further processing, and it is mandatory to download the Android Studio for proceed this course. So for today's agenda, we are not going to use any kind of IDE which we need to download. We are going to use a online compiler, that is Kotlin Playground. Okay, I will share the information with you right now. Okay, so I have told you that XML is basically use tags, right? So now that is the basic syntax, that how tags look like. Actually, this section, you can see, this is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag with a forward slash. This is the closing tag. Okay, so inside that, this tag, what I have written here, as the tag. This is basically the tag name. Okay, you can think like that. The name of the tag is basically square. Okay, if I think about the name of the tag is square, then what could be the attributes? Attributes are length of the site, then color, placement on the screen. It's basically describes the name I have written. It basically describes the tag, just like that. Okay, not too much think about it. Don't too much think about it. I will share it. So now it's time to deep dive into the Kotlin. So for today, we will simply learn about the basics of Kotlin, everything, and then from tomorrow we will. Tomorrow means from our next session, we are going to implement Android Studio, and we are going to use this Android Studio to make our first step. Okay. 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 So I have written here a question. Does anyone know which language was used before Kotlin in Android development?
Java.
Yeah, Java. So there should some reason that we are migrating from Java to Kotlin. Definitely there should some reason. So let's see what is the main reason. I am showing you a small snippet of code so that you can understood that how Kotlin is better than Java. Just see, this is a code. It's called a Pujo class. So here I have created the code. If you don't know Java, don't think about that. Just watch the length of the code, and the same functionality of that code has written here in Kotlin, and it's a just one line code. And here is the beauty of Kotlin. It's basically reduced all the boilerplate codes. So here comes the advantage of Kotlin over Java. So let's start learning Kotlin. So obviously Kotlin helps developer to be more productive, because already you have so that to gain a same functionality for Java you have to read a such kind of long code, and for Kotlin you can use the one line of code. So obviously it is better, and in one line of code it is more expressive to both for both the developer, and for it is also expressive and for the compiler. Expressive means it's easy to understand. So that is why Kotlin is called expressive language. I whenever I have shared that why we should use Kotlin, I have shared that Kotlin is an expressive language, right? This is the cause that Kotlin is called expressive, because it is easy to understand for both developer and compiler. Okay, so now it's time to run our Kotlin, to open our Kotlin playground. What I am talking about, I was talking about. Chan, please share the link of the Kotlin playground.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Can we use Java libraries in Kotlin?
Yeah, that is that is why I have said na that Kotlin is interoperable with Java. That is why you can
Okay,
use
okay.
it. Okay, I am okay. So before writing any kind of code, first understand how the all the codes works in our virtual machine or in our computer. Okay, basically, whenever you are going to buy a new computer or laptop, maybe you will not be able to run a Java program in that until or unless you have installed the JVM in your computer. So what is basically the JVM is? The JVM is stands for the Java Virtual Machine. Okay, so what it actually does? It the JVM it actually enables your computer to understand the Java code. In simple, you as simple as you can understand that JVM is basically makes your computer acceptable the Java code. Okay, so which kind of code basically JVM accepts? So let's start from the beginning. Whenever you are writing such kind of codes, like you either you are writing a Java code or maybe you are writing a Kotlin code. Okay, so this is called source code. You are writing this code. Then after that, when you compile your code, then compiler comes into the picture. Compiler, what is what is compiler? Compiler is nothing but it is a tool which basically converts your source code to Java bytecode. Now, what is Java bytecode? It is a code, it is a machine level code that is understandable by JVM. And JVM only can understand the Java bytecode. whatever code you are writing in your source code, that is not understandable by JVM. JVM only can understand the Java bytecode. And whenever you are going to compile it, then whenever the Kotlin code or then Kotlin compiler or maybe Java compiler will compile it to the Java bytecode. And whenever the code is totally compiled to the Java bytecode, whenever the JVM can understand it, and then the program will execute. This is the overall funda. So here you can see that Java and Kotlin basically both are converted to the Java bytecode, right? So that is why all the libraries of Java can be usable to Kotlin also, because it's actually converted to the Java bytecode. Alapan, do you get your answer? I think I have.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Okay, I think someone was trying to join. Okay, I missed. So yeah. Okay. Now let's proceed forward. Okay, one more time. One more thing I have missed, that whenever the Java or Kotlin source code is compiling to the Java bytecode, at the meantime, that how much time it is needed, this time is called the compiling time. And whenever the the JVM is running the Java bytecode, this time is called the run time. Okay. So these two terms is most important thing, that what is compiling time and what is run time. You should know it. Why? I am going to explain you. Okay. Till now it is clear for everyone. If some question, please ask. Okay. 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 Thank you. Then let's proceed. Okay. Then some basic syntax of Kotlin. Basically, whenever we are going to use Kotlin, first of all, you have to learn that all the Kotlin codes, what we are going to learn, that basically starts from a main function. That's a function. It's a syntax of basically function, and all the Kotlin code are starts from a main function. So this is the basic syntax, and maybe you want operation that you want to, either you pass 2 in this function, and you want to a plus operation with 2 plus 2 will get 4. How we can achieve this, we are going to discuss in later on, whenever I am covering the function. Okay. So this is the basic syntax. From here, the whenever compiler finds the main function, from there it starts running. The basic thing is that. Now next, now okay, before going to this part, how many are of you there are have some predefined, some used have any kind of language beforely, have any kind of knowledge of programming language? How many of you? Or if you have no knowledge any programming language before, then you can share. Don't hesitate. Okay. Okay. Anyone is here who have no knowledge in programming before? If someone is there, you can share with us. Don't hesitate, because I am going to covering from the scratch. So no issues. Okay, okay, okay. Samir says he don't have any knowledge. Okay, okay. So whenever we, it is a best practice that whenever we are going to learn a new language, or obviously a programming language, we have to know about the data types. That what kind of data types are there in Kotlin, or maybe you are started learning a C or Java, any kind of language. You have to learn about the data types for that particular language. Okay, so as we are learning Kotlin here, so here I am going to explain about the data types available in Kotlin. So in Kotlin, the that much how many data types are there? All the data types are sectioned in 5 parts. First first part is numbers. In the number section, there is two types. It is basically divided in two types. First of all, the integer types, and second of all, it is floating types. Okay, so integer types means that this kind of data types like byte, short, int, long, if you make a variable of this kind of data, then this will be able to store a whole number. And for the what about the floating points types? Floating points types, this kind of variable, let's say if you are making a variable, uh, maybe some of you not familiar with the name of like variables and that all. Uh, so I also explain it laterly. Let's think that data type is something which tells the compiler. Data types is nothing. The data types is something which tells the compiler to keep some memory space to store some data. Do you all get the point? Hello. Okay. So basically, those who don't know, that you can think like that. Data type is something which tells the compiler to keep some memory space to store a particular type of data. Basically, like I have listed a chart like for byte. If you are storing, let's say 125, if you want to store 125, okay, then you can simply tell the compiler to make a memory space of type byte where you can store the 125 number, the number 125 you can store. And similarly, for sort, if you want to store some large amount of number than 127 and all, then for sort. Otherwise, for int or if you are using long, then it is storing such a large number range. You can see here. Okay, so this is the thing. And what is for floating point types? Okay, floating point types is basically for storing the decimal points. See that for byte, short, int, long, all the data types we are storing, they all are the whole numbers, right? But we never storing such kind of numbers like 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after 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 such kind of decimal places is not storing in there. We are not storing there. To achieve this kind of operation, to store this kind of decimal places, we basically used float and double. And it is and also it is preferable to use double rather than float, because float can't store that much of decimal places than what double can do. So it is preferable to use double than float. I'm not going that much deep into that because here is lot of thing to understand, but I am going just overall thing. I'm just explaining the overall thing. So if you have some doubt later on, you can ping me. Okay, for characters, this type of data type, we can store the characters only. Let's say you want to store only A, or you want to store only B. Then for storing a particular letter or a particular character, you can use the character data type. Or okay, whenever I will explain the variable, I will show you all. And Boolean types. Okay, this Boolean types, in this Boolean types, you can only store true or false. For this Boolean types, you can only store true or false. It only storable true or false. And for the string purpose, you can store a sequence of characters. A sequence of characters means for character you are storing only one word, right? Oh, sorry, only one letter, right? Then in string you can store a word. You can say like that. Like for my name, I want to store the whole sequence of the characters. Here, see carefully. There is 5 characters: SITAM, and I want to store the overall thing in a particular variable. Then how I can achieve that? I have to give a quotation, double quotation. Then I have to put a sequence inside a double quotation and I have to close the double quotation. That is how I can make a string. Okay, I will see you later on. Just understand that string stores a collection of a sequence of data. And what is basically arrays? Okay, what is basically arrays? Arrays is basically storing a list of different data in a single variable. Don't be overwhelmed with that. Whenever I am going to explain the arrays, I will explain it overall. Okay, up to string, is it clear? Up to string, is there any problem? Okay. So let's start our coding. Guys, if you can open your Kotlin playground and can code with us accordingly. Okay. So let me open my, and that's my Kotlin playground. Okay. So this is how the Kotlin code looks like. That it starts from a main function, and from the main function the code starts running, and basically whatever I am writing, like first thing we achieve that we want to print a message. Let's say for that we use println function. It is a function which basically do that. It basically prints some kind of statements. So let's say I want to print my name. So I have used the println function. Then I have passed that what I want to print. Then I have run. Then my name is printed. But one thing observe carefully. That is, I am using the double quotation sign here, right? And I have told you before that for the string purpose, we use the double quotation, and inside that we pass the sequence of character. And here it means I have passed a string. Okay. So whenever I have passed a string, then only it can print. So it means println function can print a string. And even if you don't pass a string there, then it internally converts it to a string, then prints it. It's the basic funda of println function. So println function, basically here I have passed a text. How I can pass a text? With a double quotation sign inside the message, then run it successfully. We can run our first Kotlin program. Okay. So this is our first Kotlin program. This was okay. Now comes to the variable. Okay. So what basically variable is now? Now, and why we need to use the variables? Let's say, come to the Kotlin playground. Okay. Let's say I am here print my name. Okay. For printing my title, I am using again the same function called, okay. For printing my mom's name, I am using again this function. Let's say, but what the problem is that, see, every time I am passing what? I am passing a text, right? And whenever I'm clicking on the run option, then it start printing like first my name, then my title, then after that my mom's name. But I want to achieve, I don't want to pass these things different time. I want to pass a variable, let's say. Now I want to achieve a such kind of functionality where a single name I will pass, and inside the single name I stored all the data. Okay. So let me explain from very basics what basically variable is. First question that comes our mind, why we need variable, then what basically variable is. Whenever you are creating a variable, it tells the compiler that it is a particular type of variable. Okay, so how can first of all let me show you that how we can make a variable, then I am explaining the overall funda. Okay, for creating a variable we can either use val or use var. What is the difference between that? I am going to explain. For val, let's say I am creating a variable. Let's say I'm giving a name it of variable. Now in Kotlin, we have learned about the data type. Okay, to declaration of a variable, we at first give either val or var. Then we give the variable name. Then we give the data type. Like let's say here we all what we are using here we all are using the string, right? Then I am making this variable of type string. With this sign, accordingly with the data type, we actually create a variable that can store the only string value. And if I store here my name, then is it a valid operation? I have made a variable which which is the type of string. Then I have passed. Then I have stored a data inside that. So have I made a valid operation? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So if I am storing now, let's say I am storing 0 into it. Is it a valid operation?
No.
No, it is not.
Yeah. Why not? Basically, this variable is a type of string. And so I have told the compiler what I am actually doing here. I am telling the compiler that make a variable which of name variable. Let's say change the variable name. I give the variable name as name. Okay. So I am telling the compiler that make a variable uh, known as name and makes its type as string. So compiler now knows that this name variable only can store a string, not an integer, not a byte, not a float, anything. It only can store a string. So whenever I am passing 2 here, this 2 is basically, see, this 2 is a whole number, right? And whenever I am explaining you the data type about, I've told you, whenever you are storing a whole number, it basically the integer types data that are basically byte, either short or int or long. Okay. So basically, whenever I am writing here 2, it basically either byte or int or short or long, but not a type of string, right? That is why compiler will say, no, it is not allowed here, cause this name is occupied for the string only. You can't store here a 2. Okay. But if whenever inside a double quotation you are giving 2, it says that now this 2 inside a double quotation. It means whenever you putting something inside a double quotation, it means that it's now a string. Then you can store it to the name. That's the thing. Uh, have you guys get the point about the variable? Okay. So basically, so this is basically variable. Variable is nothing but a place. It's you can think like that. It's a place where we can store a particular thing. We can put a particular thing. You also can generalize it that it's basically a container of to store a particular type of thing. If you make a container of type int, then you can't store a string there. Then you have to put a whole number, because int is a type of the whole number data, right? Then we can store a whole number there. So there has no collision. But if I try to store here true, which is a type of boolean, it will not acceptable here, because compiler, I have told the compiler make a container of type of name. I have make the container's name, which is the type, which has named as name. Okay. Which can store only integer value. It can't store a boolean value. So that is why it can't be stored. So we can store only 2 here, or any kind of integer number. Now, what we all are actually want to achieve, that we want to store that name, and that name. We are passing these names separately in the println function, right? But I don't want to achieve these things. I want something different. What? Let first of all, I'm making a variable of name string, of type string, sorry. The variable name is name. Okay. Then, so basically the container is named as name, and I have told the compiler inside that container only put the string things. So the string, what are the strings here? Is this a string? Sitam, is this thing a string?
Yes.
Okay. So we can store it here. We can store it here. Similarly, now the fun is that inside, once we declare these things one time, then we can use the similar variable in different areas. Now we can store here. Now we can store another string here, and whenever we are storing this data inside this name variable, then what is actually basically happening, that the the old thing which was in the container, that was removed, and the new thing, the new string thing is entered here. And again, if I do this with my mom's name, then again the the old thing was the Sardar, then it will be removed, then my mom's name will come there. In then that is why that is how it basically works. Now, if we try to run these things, now I am removing this all things and trying to run the println function, and now I don't need to pass the separate things. First of all, I was passing this thing, then I was passing this, then I was passing this, then this result was occurring. Right. Now, if I pass only name thing, only name here, what I am suggesting that print whatever data inside there in the name container. So name was the container, and at the last operation, at first we have stored Sitam. Then after that, we have removed Sitam and entered Shardar. Then in this instruction, in this line of code, what we have done, we have removed this thing, then entered this. So at the last, there exists this thing only. So it should it should print a it should then what should it print? It should print this name, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So now there has a twist. If I try to run
Val
this, then it can't be reassigned. It is saying that val cannot be reassigned. Then what should we do?
use bar.
Yeah, actually, there has a two-way to declare a variable. There has, sorry, there is two-way to declare a variable. Either we can use a val type of variable, either we can use a val before declaring any kind of variable, or otherwise we can use var before using any kind of variable, before declaring any kind of variable. So what is the basically the difference between val and var? Val says the compiler that whenever the variable is made, and whenever something is initialized to it, like here, the val I have written here, val age of type int, and here I have assigned 21. So what I have told to the compiler that make a container of name age, and this container only can take integer type. This container only can take integer type. So here I have passed 21. It is a valid operation because 21 is a whole number and also an integer. So it can store, so the container can store 21. So it had stored inside there. But as I have mentioned that val, it says to the compiler that whenever something enters into the container, it can't be replaceable. Okay. So have you get the point? It can't be replaceable. So whenever like our code, whenever we are trying, what we all are trying here, first we store something inside the container, then we try to replace it by Sardar. We want to replace this thing with this, but val will not allow this operation to replace it overally. So what we should do this, we should change it to var. Var basically allows this operation, that var tells the compiler that user can replace it accordingly. So now we can easily replace, first we replace Sitam with Sardar, then we replace Sardar with this, then we are printing the name. We are printing the name means after this operation is this operation is working. So at the end of the program, inside the name, what is there? There is only this name. Okay, so this name should be printed. So only this thing should print it. Yeah, we get only this thing, and we don't get Sitam and Sardar because all these things are replaced with this. Till now, have you all get the point? Have you understood? What is the basic difference between val and var?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So all the things has gone. Now, now it's time to printing a variable. Now I have already shown you to how to print a variable. That uh, in simply you can print a variable just passing the variable name into the println function. It's simple. But I want to achieve this thing. I am passing a string here, and inside the string I am writing my mother name is, let's say, I want to achieve this thing. Okay, let's say I want to achieve this thing. Now, what we could beside that, that here first what we have done, what I have done that I have passed the overall string, overall the character sequence I have passed. Then if I run it, then what I have passed, it is showing here. But I want to get this value from the variable. Then how can I achieve this? For this purpose, we use this syntax. This is called string template format. What string template basically allow? String template basically allow you to print a variable or to print any or to do any operations inside the string itself. Basically, within the double quotation, what is this? Within the double quotation, it's overall a string. Inside the string, I want to call, I want to get the value from the variable. Okay. So first we get the $sign. It is called a string template. Then we give the curly braces. Inside the curly braces, I will pass the variable name. What it actually does? It actually does that it tells, this line tells to the compiler that this is a string. Obviously, this is a string. Inside the string, first print my mother name is, then after that print whatever value inside the name variable is. So what the value inside the name variable is now? That's my mother's name. So so now the name variable has this string, right? So this value will go there and then it will print overall. And boom. So first, whenever we run the program, the compiler first print up to that, then take the value from this container. The container is name. Inside the container, what was that? This name. It took from here, put it here and print it. And that's how we can print a variable inside from inside a string. Okay. Up to that it is clear? Okay. So we are printing in such a way. Now it's time. So we have covered all the things about related to printing, right? We have all the things about related to printing, but I have missed something. Let me explain it at first. Here in Kotlin, there is to print. There is actually two function has provided. First of all, we are using println since now, and there is also another function that's called print. It has two functions. Either to print we can use println, or otherwise we can use print, right? Now then what is the difference between that println and print? Okay, let's see with an example. For println, I want to print my name. And inside print, I also, let's say I give my title. If I run the code, that works actually what what it was working like before. But if I change the situation like that, if I change their position, I put the print function above the println function, then what will happen? See, now this is not working in that a way that it works like before. That what was occurring before? First of all, something was printing, okay. Then the next line was printing below of that. But here you can see that first this thing is printed, then followed by the other thing is printed, but no line shifting is there. Then what is happens actually? Whenever we are use when you print, okay, no any new line is printed. So what basically new line? Let's say this is my cursor, this is my cursor, okay, this is my cursor. Then when I am clicking enter, it's going to the new line. You can think like that. Cursor was in this position. Whenever I am clicking, then it is going to the new line. Again, I am clicking, it is going to another new line. What println actually does, println first print first print the thing what it passed inside that. After printing that, it prints a new line. Okay, so that is why whenever we are printing println, before that, before print function, then what is actually happens? Actually, first CTOM is printed, then a new line is printed. It means the cursor is at first is here. It prints the CTOM. Then the new line, whenever the new line is printed, it goes to there. Then the remaining thing is printed. In such a way, you can achieve these things. And whenever I am using the print function before, then what is actually happens? First further is printed, then no new line is printed. That is, cursor is not going downwards. It stays here, and remaining things it prints here. So that's why this result is occurs. Okay. So these things are basic things up to now. Now the last thing I am going to cover, the conditions and loops. Okay. So for conditions, now conditions is basically, let's say, if you guys want to achieve such kind of things, if I get marks greater than 20, then I will achieve these things. If I get marks greater than 30, then I want to achieve these things. And you say, if I get marks greater than 50, then I want to achieve these things. You are thinking like that. Then let's say I am making a variable called it marks and give a integer tool, and telling the compiler it is an integer type data, integer type variable, and I'm passing here, let's say 30. So what I am thinking that 30, what now I am so now what I am actually thinking to print, what I am thinking that if the marks is greater than 20, then I want to achieve something. Otherwise, if if the marks is greater than 30, then I want to achieve something. And if the marks is greater than 50, then I want to achieve something. Now, now, now see it carefully. What we are actually doing to check some kind of operations, that if something is happens, then I will do some kind of action. Okay, for that, look at the syntax carefully. If you guys are familiar with any other programming language previously, then you know that what how if else works. So it's better to not going to deep dive into it. Just I am I'm saying that it's the as exactly same as the different type of languages like Java, C++, or C. That exactly same. That what is the basically syntax is, I am going here if I'm first I use the if keyword, then inside the parenthesis I am checking that marks. Okay, so what the marks is basically a integer type container where it can store a integer data. So what what I have stored inside the container, I have stored 30. Okay, so first I am checking that marks if the marks greater than 20. So as I have put it the 30, obviously, yeah, it is greater than 20. Then whatever I will write inside that, it will works. And uh, I have stored the inside marks that 30. And in this case, see carefully what I am doing here. I am doing here basically, I am checking that is 30 greater than 30. Is it make sense? Not 30 can't be greater than 30. Then it will return false. And if it is false, then it will not work. What the code block will be inside that. And in case of this, here I am checking that is 30 greater than 50. No, it is false. Then this will not work. So let's check it with a function. I am checking it with a println function. Uh, I'm passing a message walked. Okay. I'm passing a message walked. Same thing I am copying this to this. Can anyone say what should print here? Sorry, wait. For better understanding, worked 1, worked 2, worked 3. Could anyone say that what should be printed there?
Worked one.
Yeah, worked 1. Because only this condition is satisfying. This thing. This 30 is greater than 20. Yeah, worked 1. So if I run it, then yeah, worked 1. Now, every time I am using if, then I am using if again, then I'm using if again. Instead of that, we can use like else if statements also. What exactly else if statement does, it's nothing, it's as same as if statements separately. But what exactly it does, that if this statement is not gonna work, then it will only check this. And if this statement and this statement is not gonna work, then it will only check this. And if we don't use that else if statement, well, if then else if then else if, okay, if we don't use it like that, then what will happen? It checks 3 times. It will check 3 times and only 1 times it will work. But if we use the else if section, then it will work for only 1 time. It will check only for 1 time. That's nothing. There's nothing more than that, and remaining things are same. Okay. Now, now I want to achieve the same things with a switch case property. Have you guys ever used the switch case thing?
Yes.
Okay. Did you guys know that whenever you, I don't know about the Python thing, but for other things, whenever you are going to use switch case, you have to give a break statement.
Yes.
Yes, after
Yes.
some case.
Anyone can from you explain me that why you are giving the break statement after of each block?
If we don't use break statement, then a condition may arise of follow through.
Follow through the overall. Yeah. Is there is here everyone is familiar with that switch case things, or if there anyone who don't, you can say.
Dada, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
How to take input from user in Kotlin?
Okay, it's basically is similar to Java. If you don't know Java, then okay, I will show you. Okay, later on, if I get time, yeah, I am showing you. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So yeah. You can start for if you want to explore. If you want to explore the basic things for now, you can start with Kotlin. Okay, but for later on, you should know Java because there has many old libraries are there. Their backend code are already written in Java, and as I have told you that whenever the compiler runs, then it compiled it to a JVM, to a Java bytecode, and it this the syntax of the bytecode is it's almost as similar as the Java, so it will be understandable for you. For if you want to proceed with that, and if not, then you can stay with Kotlin because because the Kotlin is the future of native Android development. Okay, so it's time for the when statement. Acha. So let me. Okay, I am going to use the switch case thing, right? But in Kotlin, instead of instead of the keyword switch, we use here the when statement. When. So basically, how this works inside the when statement, first give the when statement, then give a parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, pass what you want to check every time. Okay, first bring back. Let me bring back the last code. Okay, which thing I am checking every time? That marks thing, right? Every time I am checking the marks. So it is the common thing that I am checking every time. So inside the when statement, I am giving this marks. I am passing the marks inside when statement. I am passing the marks, and inside that now I want to achieve in such a way that if marks is greater than 20, okay, if marks is greater than 20, then do this. If marks is greater than 30, then do this. If marks is greater than 50, then do this. Okay. Now I have passed the marks. Uh, one thing, let me check. Okay. Don't do it like in the way. So, okay. So this thing I want to achieve in marks. Yes, sir. Marks, marks. Okay, I think so. I should show you some easy example to get it clear for you. Otherwise, it will make some little bit complex for you. Let's say this is marks, right? I want to achieve this thing. It will be easier for you all understand it. say I want to achieve these things. If marks equals to 20, that what does equals to does that it checks is the 30 stored in the marks, is it equivalent to 20? This only checks. It will be easier for you to learn. Else if else if marks goes to 30, let's say I'm achieving this, and else if marks goes to now I am using println, that same things, walked one. Now, can anyone say what will be happen in there? What will be printed in there? In this case, if I put it like in that way,
Work 2.
walk two. Okay. Why? Because in this case, marks is equivalent to 30, so walk two will print it. Now, here you can see how easily we can use when for this purpose. Okay. What I was thinking that every time I am checking marks, right? So I am passing marks here. Marks here. Now, if the case one, uh, basically, if the case is 20, what we are actually thinking that if it is equals to 20, so if it 20, if marks is equals to 20, then we give a arrow in such a way, then we write a block of code. The block of code, what is that? Is here that println. We can simple put it here. Walked one. 20, 30, we walk 2, and for, and if marks is 40, then we can use same thing, walk 3. Now look at the syntax carefully. First of all, what I have to write in different times, I have put it here for owns. Then I am checking for each times. What it actually does, it is taking that is the marks equals to 20. If it 20, then print, then it will print that. If marks is 30, if it's 30, then it will print that. If marks is 40, if it's 40, then it will print that. Okay. So if I comment it out and run the code, yeah, it has actually worked the same. And now let me explain the previous thing. What I was actually working on the previous thing, that if marks is greater than 20, right? If marks is greater than 20, just give it like, I think this is the syntax. Let me check it once. Sorry, this kind of exception is there. Actually, its syntax is little bit different. That's why I don't want share. Okay. And have you seen the difference between the previous syntax and this syntax? Hello?
Yes.
It's lot shorter.
it's look the previous ones, there was you have to check the if statement, then else, then else if. But she inside of when statement, just you are giving, not, you don't need to give the if statement, else if statement, just, yeah, it's simple sorter. And what is the advantage of, have you guys all know about the switch case with break functionality, right? You guys all know about that, no? Okay, so if you know that, then see, see carefully, I never used break statement anywhere. And this is the beauty of Kotlin, that you don't need to put the break function here because it is redundant. Just simple put it there, then it will work accordingly. And it's also shorter. So that was the thing. I think it's I think it's all for today, because and some things are also there, that function things and things, these things. Should I continue, or should I continue with my next session? What do you say? Okay. Actually, next session we're thinking to take on 10th of December. Today is 5, right? So 10th of December, next session. So next session there, yeah, next session will from next session onwards, we will make some apps. Okay. So I will suggest you that I am suggesting you that you all should download the Android Studio if possible, so that you can proceed the learning pathway. And
Dada, I have an issue with Android Studio. It requires 8 GB of RAM and my laptop has only 4 GB of RAM. Is there
oh,
any other ID apart from Android Studio which I can download?
no, actually Google's are the resources they are providing, na, these resources. This is only for the Android Studio, because if you follow their code labs, whenever you will going to this section, create your app, let's say, download download and install Android Studio. No other options. That's why I have mentioned before. Okay, you can, Priyanshu, one thing you can do, you can download once the Android Studio. If it not works, then uninstall it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, try it once, then uninstall it. No issue. Okay. Okay. So something, some extra things are there, like just you have to know the function, arrays and lists, and the string functions if possible. But it will not take that much of time. Also, today the time has also over, so I don't think. I think it will be better to proceed in next session, right?
Yes, it's enough for today.
Okay. Now it's time for the quiz time, and I suggest you all to open the section. You all guys have created the your developer profile, na? Those who have created till now, please open, and let's take a quiz, and then only you will get a badge instantly. Okay. So it's basically the quiz time for us. So till now, whatever I have covered with you, whatever I have covered, that same thing you will get from this code lab. I have covered everything from there, and with some also I have covered some extra thing also. If you want to proceed, if you want to check this thing, you can check it ohms. Otherwise, you can practice from elsewhere, somewhere where you are comfortable from. Okay, so should I start the quiz?
Can you send that link?
Maybe Chayan has sent.
Okay.
Okay.
Dada, it's not. I mean, I can't find the page where the quiz option is
Okay,
there.
okay. Wait. Sorry. With 1v6 in Kotlin. Okay. Open it from here. Open these things. It will open. Then go to Kotlin basics. Whenever you go to the Kotlin basics, the first section that is introduction to Kotlin. Go to there. Rohan, you can learn Java. You should learn Java, after all. But for this course, it's a very small syntaxes, and the course is not that much big. So you can learn it. It's a great opportunity to learn with Google. So I think you can learn if you can manage.
Yes, Dada, I am open.
Okay. Is it open though? Then go to the quiz section, everyone. Okay. So what is program? What is the program? What should be the answer? Comment box. C, right.
Option C.
Option C. Why it is option C? Because till now, whatever we have written, just like that, whenever the program runs inside the main function, it runs step by step. This is the first step. That in this step, the compiler creates a container and of type integer and put the 30 inside that container. Then next step, it calls the when function and then it works accordingly. So it's basically it's run step by step. So each step we are giving some instruction to the compiler, right? That do this or do this, else do this. That we programmer do actually. So we basically gives instruction to the compiler or computer, maybe say what you can say. We give instruction to the compiler and then compiler works done for us. So it's basically C. Now, which keyword do you use to define a function in Kotlin? Okay, one more thing I have not covered today in today's session about the function. So this will be option 1. Let me show you a quick overview for the function. Okay, you guys are familiar with function, right? If you are familiar with previous with any other programming languages. Then this is the syntax. This is the syntax where to define a function inside Kotlin, you always have to give a function name. You have to follow this syntax. First, you have to give the keyword fun, fun fun. This denotes that whatever you want to want to be instruction is giving, that is you are instructing the compiler to make a function. Okay, so that actually does the fun keyword. Then what we do actually, we give the function name. Okay, then inside the parenthesis we pass the parameter list, and then we give the return type. I will explain you it in on our next session in details. For now, just know that it is fun. With a fun keyword, we can declare a function. Okay.
Double is a data type or a function?
hmm
The double.
Double, basically, I have give a function name. I will explain you it later on. Okay. In depth.
Okay, okay.
It's just nothing a function name, just a function name that it makes the x double. The value of x, whatever you are passing, the value of x, it just double it to into that. Just return that.
Okay, okay. Fine.
Okay. So it is function, right? Now comes to this section. Which of the following do you need to create a Kotlin program that prints a line of text? Okay. That prints a line of text, right? First,
C.
no. There is
Option
No, D.
multiple
B.
choice. Okay. Let me explain. First, we need to create a main function, because without creating a main function, we can't run any program. First, we need to create a main function because it asks overall steps. Okay. So first we need to create a main function. Then we need to give the curly braces. Just similar. Main function. Then we need to give the curly braces. Then we give the print or println option. I have told you that what exactly print does or println does. So we call the print or println function. Then inside that, a piece of text surrounded by a quotation mark is passed, right? Then the four options are correct. These are the 4 steps. Got it? Yeah. B, B, C, D, E. Okay. Great. Then this, what is the answer of this?
2 lines of text.
Print
2 lines of text.
2 lines of text. Okay. Option B. Okay. Come here. How would you modify the main function so that it prints 6 layers of cake for someone's 4th birthday? Okay. So layers should be 6 and age should be 4.
Hello, Sitam. Am I
Huh.
audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes. Can
Oh,
you?
sorry, sir. No, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Can you run the last question in your Kotlin program once?
Yeah, sure.
Will it be a 2 line text or a 2 line text with a blank line in between?
No, sir. The blank line will not be there because I am showing. Let me read. Actually, what will happen at first of the program? This is our first instruction. This is our first instruction that instruct that print this. This will be printed. Then cursor will be there. Then a new line will be printed. Then cursor will be there. Then this thing will be printed. If we run, then this. First cursor was
Okay.
there. Then this printed. Then a new line printed. Cursor goes there. Then the another thing is printed. And if you try to run something else, then it will be printed from these lines.
Good. Okay.
Okay. So, what should be the answer of this?
C.
Okay. So this is, we need to set our age as 4. Yeah. C. Okay. Okay. Has anyone think about the option 2? Can anyone explain why C?
Yeah, because
Because
it is enclosed
in
in double quotes and we don't
Yeah, yeah,
enclose
yeah.
integers in double quotes.
Because double quotes are strings, and we
Yes.
are basically assigning an integer. And at the last, I will explain you one special thing about Kotlin. That after the quiz, I will explain. Okay. Now this what should be A. Okay. 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 Ankit has first said it's A. Can you please explain? Ankit, are you there?
So because the function needs two string and one integer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. 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 Great. So everything has happened. Okay. Let's submit our quiz. Yeah. Congratulations. 6 out of 6 correct. And I hope you all get your badges.
The last one option is first option, right?
Yeah. First option. So guys, I think you all are get your first badge, right?
Yes.
Okay. In that way, follow the pathway. In this manner, follow the pathway, and I will assign you all to complete because in this section there is nothing. They have shown you that how to install Android Studio, how to run app. Okay, though I will show you everything, but still try it by your own. Take the quiz, and I am expecting that you all can cover up to this basic, build a basic layout up to this. If you guys can cover it up to this, and if there has any doubt, you can directly ask me from in the group, or else you can ping me, or whatever maybe. And else you can ask me your doubt in the next session onwards, and so that we can start from the add a button to an app from this section. And before that, I also will show you how to as my Android Studio is already downloaded, I will not going to show you that how to install it, how to download it, but I will show you how to run your first app. That's thing, how to create a project, what is Android Studio, what inside that. I will explain everything. So this is basically for today. But just one last thing, that is, just look at the variable declaration carefully. What I have told about the syntax, either var or val, then give a variable name. I'm giving a name as the variable name. Then give a data type, int, then stored some data inside it. Okay. Now look at carefully. It actually works, right? If I call println inside name, and if I run it, then yeah, it actually works normally. That I have created a container, tells the compiler what? To make a container to store a integer type of data. That's okay. But if I remove it from here, then should it work? What do you say, guys? What do you think? Okay, Chan is saying yes. Others? Should it work? What do you think? Because I am now not telling the compiler that what to do, what it can take, but I am passing 30. Anyone else?
based on the value, does the container changes its data type according to the value?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
It's
And
like implicit typecasting.
exactly that. Not implicit typecasting is there. It is the term type inference. It is the special functionality of Kotlin that's called type inference. Not Kotlin. Many other modern programming language also follows this. Inside my PPT, whenever maybe I was wait. Whenever I was saying you all that Kotlin is an expressive, statically typed language with type inference. This is basically that thing that every time, let's say you are making a large project, right? Or you are making a large app and you are taking some data from internet, let's say, but you don't know what's the data type of it. Then you can simply put the data here and compiler will automatically take the data accordingly. But if you are using Java, then you have to manually implement the data type. So it's a special thing that we can achieve over Java inside Kotlin, obviously. And some other things, that is the type inference thing. I have said that why it is expressive, because it is easily understandable for both programmer and compiler. And now one thing's left, that is statically typed. Statically typed mean whenever we are running the program, then what it actually happens. I have told you that compiler compiles it to the Java bytecode. So whenever the compiler compiling it to the Java bytecodes, in between this compiling time, the compiler checks the data type. If any compiler checks the data type during the compile time, then this kind of language is called statically typed. Do you guys get the point? Yeah, like Python. Exactly. One funny thing is that many people like to say that Kotlin is the Python version of Java. You can say also like that. Which idea? Okay. Uh, Base suitable for Kotlin. Do you want to use only Kotlin? Only want to write Kotlin code? Then you can use the Kotlin playground itself. You don't need to install any IDE. Okay. So any other questions?
Dada, for app development, we should learn the XML. And any resource for it?
Yeah, for starting, for the beginning, I always recommend you to learn XML. Any all-rounder idea, you can use the IntelliJ IDEA and VS Code also. Yeah. Okay. Any more question?
Okay, before we call it a day, Ankit, are you from our college or are you from a different college? Ankit Singh.
Different college.
Okay, I'm sending a link. Just join here so that you get to know about our other events as well. Okay, the group link that Choyon has sent is only for the Android Study Jam. If you join here, you'll get to know about our other events as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be better for us. And Chayan also send the our Google Form link also. That will be easy for us to accessible to. Okay, guys. Then the thing is that we will check your updates, whatever batch you have collected until up to 10th of Jan. After that date, the course will be there. But thank you, sir. Okay, can you guys open your camera for a while? Guys, it will be better if you all can open OWNs for while for your cameras. Okay. Others? Okay. I'm gonna taking a screenshot. Priyanshu, Shubrima, could you please open? Oh, okay, no issue. Okay, guys. So whatever you have learned, please share it with your social medias and tag us. Don't forget to tag us. And see you all with our next session. So good night for today.
Good night, Sitam. Subrima, good night. Good night all.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
sir.
Good night.